What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about First Take. Now, I thought I was going to watch this video and just completely go off on Stephen A. Smith. My guy Victor Cruz is there. He's going to be talking about Eli Manning and John Mara's comments. But I'll be completely honest with you. Not only did I enjoy this video because there was no politics involved, there was no race involved, Stephen A. didn't go off on any tangents, I thoroughly enjoyed this segment of First Take. I thought it was a legitimate debate. I'm okay with the the uproar about the Giants right now because nobody really knows what the Giants are doing. So it's fair to talk about it. I'm okay with what Stephen A. had to say. I'm okay with what Victor Cruz had to say, but we'll get into it. I'm not gonna lie here. Stephen A. Smith owned Victor Cruz here. I'll be completely honest. Victor Cruz could not compete in the debate with Stephen A. Smith. There were talking points that Stephen A. said that Victor Cruz just had no answer for. And here's what Victor Cruz is right now. And this is no disrespect to the man, Victor Cruz. I love my guy, Victor Cruz. But Victor Cruz is what Giants fans were, I want to say around 2015 to 2016, right? Where we were defending Eli Manning to the grave, and what Victor Cruz said was almost identical, completely identical to what Giants fans like me, Giants fans like other fans out there, and video makers out there were saying in defense of Eli Manning in those years. How many times have you guys heard this? He's in the best shape of his life. He has more power. This is the best training camp of his career, and he looks even more youthful. Like, he looks 10 years younger. We hear it all the time, guys. And preseason after preseason, we get a taste of what Eli Manning is, and just leaves a bad taste in our mouth. And then the regular season shows up, and he's just the same Eli. Oh yeah, quickly, this is about the John Mara situation, what he said about Daniel Jones and Eli Manning. Here's what Stephen A. Smith didn't really understand. Stephen A. won this debate, except he kind of lost me when he started mentioning John Mara's comments, because John Mara didn't say he never wants to see his quarterback perform. But the fact that if Eli Manning plays the whole season, if Daniel Jones never sees the field, that means the Giants are doing well. That's what John Mara was implying. The only way the Giants would put Daniel Jones in is if the Giants are doing bad, they're like out of playoff contention, and then that's when they're going to see what they can get from Daniel Jones. If Eli Manning stays in the whole year, that means that Eli Manning's playing well, and that's what John Mara was hoping for. But Stephen A. Smith didn't quite understand that. I could understand why he wouldn't, so I'm not going to kill him for that on this one. So let's get into the video.
I've been around Eli Manning a long time, and every time he's had his back against the wall, anytime he's been in a position where he had to fight and he had to come out swinging, he's responded. Whether it's been, let's say we lost 2 games and his play was in question, he'd come out firing. He understands that. I think he's in a position now different than he's ever been. I think he's got some fire behind him in Daniel Jones. I think if he knows if he doesn't play well, his job is in question. And I think he's done some good things in the offseason as far as taking care of his body. I heard he's done some things with his lower body. I heard in training camp he's throwing the ball with some zip. He's getting it out there to his pass catchers, to his receivers. They're ranting and raving about how Eli Manning is getting them the football during these early months of training camp. What he should do with
his lower body is sit his butt on the bench is what he should do.
But I think we're going to see a renewed Eli Manning. I think he understands this is the most important year of his career with the setup that he has with Daniel Jones bagging him, adding some fire behind him. I think that we'll see a renewed Eli Manning, and we'll see what's up.
He didn't have fire the last 2 years when they were terrible and people were calling for his job and benching him. Like,
he got benched for Geno Smith.
But they didn't have
this any different?
Because they didn't have a young backup that can replace him and that can be the guy for years to come. I think they've had backups that would suffice for the time being.
Yeah.
But Eli Manning is in a position where if he doesn't play well, there's a backup that can come in and take the reins and not look back.
Forever. Yep.
All right, so with that being said, Victor Cruz brung up, what exactly I just talked about in the beginning of this video. He is basically playing the part that Giants fans were playing back then in 2015, 2016, even going back to 2014, saying that Eli Manning's looking better. This is one of Eli Manning's most important, years and stuff like that, and he looks great. He looks 10 years younger. So exactly what the media were saying those years and what the fans were bringing in and what the Eli Manning apologists were putting out there, including myself back in those years as well. So that's what Victor Cruz is really on right now, and I think all Giants fans has come to that realization that that's not the case whatsoever anymore, and Stephen A. Smith will debunk that. But Victor Cruz brought up a very good point afterwards. He did talk about how this season is different from the other seasons because he actually has a competent quarterback. He actually has someone to compete with, someone that's lighting a fire under him, because it's the best competition Eli Manning has had at quarterback since Kurt Warner. Okay, since Eli Manning got in the league as a rookie. So that being said, Eli Manning as the starter, Eli Manning never had a competition like Daniel Jones. So that's what he said at the end, and I agree with him on that. But everything else he was talking about was just like 2015 Eli Manning apologists. But let's get on to what Stephen A. Smith has to say.
I think John Mara should be ashamed of himself. And I think that anybody who speaks up for Eli Manning should be ashamed of themselves at this point. This man has not missed any games with the exception of one game where McAdoo benched him. He hasn't missed a game in 14 years. They've missed the playoffs 5 of the last 6 years and 7 of the last 9. If any other quarterback that did any other franchise that had a quarterback that didn't miss a single game in that span, and you had that kind of record, particularly over the last 2 years where you've gone 8-24. I mean, you've won 8 games the last 2 years. Anybody else would be talking about making a quarterback change but the New York Giants. Now, why is that? You draft Daniel Jones, and what happened? We saw him at Duke. We know that he has potential. We saw his one preseason game where he completed all of his passes. Let's stop the presses and just pave the way for the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio for him now because he showed up on a preseason game, and they're talking about him, right? But what's the real claim to fame for Daniel Jones? It's that he was coached by Cutcliffe at Duke. And who works out? The Mannings. It's Cutcliffe. Who has a long-standing relationship with the Mannings? It's Cutcliffe. Who do you hear John Mara talking about? He's talking about Eli Manning. He loves this man. And I can't blame him for that. It's not just the 2 Super Bowl rings. Eli Manning is one of the classiest professionals we have ever seen in this business. He's class personified. He's an incredibly decent human being, a consummate professional. All of those things are true. And if you're Mara, you don't just care about his production on the field. You care about the man that he is. But what did you do if you're John Mara? What did you do? You got rid of the coach, got rid of the GM, you got rid of Coughlin. Okay, what did you also?
Okay, so this part, he completely loses me. He starts talking about Saquon Barkley. He starts talking about Will Hernandez. He starts talking about how they paid Nate Solder. And he's thinking that, by the way, John Mara does not make these moves. The GM does, so he's very confused on that. John Mara does not sign these players. It's the new GM that does that in Dave Gettleman. But he starts saying that the reason why they got Saquon, the reason why they got Solder, the reason why they got Will Hernandez was because of Eli. And I completely agree with that. I think it's the complete opposite. I think it's for the future. I think that Dave Gettleman had a plan already to go out and get a quarterback within these couple of drafts and build around their quarterback before their quarterback gets there. That's one of the most important things to do when building a team. You don't bring in your quarterback. That's one of the many common misconceptions. You should not build around your quarterback before your quarterback gets there. Then your quarterback might have a terrible offensive line in his first couple years, and he's going to be paranoid like Eli Manning is now. And then when you get a good offensive line, he's still going to be paranoid. He's not going to be the same quarterback. You have to have your quarterback as comfortable as they can, as possible. Have your quarterback as comfortable as possible. Build around your quarterback before your quarterback gets there. The Giants have a fortified offensive line. It's not the best, but it's workable. It's doable, okay? It's serviceable. And they have one of the best running backs in NFL history before Daniel Jones takes a snap in the regular season. That's not for Eli Manning. I'm sure it benefits Eli Manning in his last years, okay? He can go out with some better players and maybe have a chance to win. You don't draft a generational freaking running back for 2 or 3 years of Eli Manning's career. You don't do that. So he's going to talk about that now, but I'm just going to shoot it down before he talks about it so you guys don't completely blow your minds. So let's get what Stephen A. Smith says about this.
Tampa do? You paid Nate Solder a boatload of money. You got him there. You drafted Saquon Barkley because you wanted to make sure you let everybody know we're trying to win and we believe in ourselves. You drafted Will Hernandez as well. And so when you look at the plethora of moves that have been made, every single thing has been exhausted to appease and buffer and protect and potentially elevate Eli Manning. And nothing has worked. And still, we sit here today and listen to this man in 2019, off the residue of 5 seasons in 6 years, 7 seasons in 9 years, where the man hasn't even made the playoffs. And this man is sitting there with a straight face in the media capital of the world with the cameras rolling and taped and you being taped. And he's sitting there saying, I hope that my future quarterback that I just drafted with the number 6 overall pick doesn't play one down. So our 38-year-old quarterback could have a beautiful season. You got to be kidding me, man.
So, like I said, the GM drafts. The GM hires players, okay? It's not the owner. So Stephen A. Smith again just doesn't understand that he's too much of an NBA player, too much of an NBA aficionado, and he doesn't really understand NFL football that well. Okay, it's the GM that gets these guys. All right, so John Mara obviously had no choice in getting Daniel Jones. Maybe he had some input, maybe not. I don't know. But he's not saying he never wants to see that quarterback play. He's saying if Eli Manning stays the whole year, if Daniel Jones never sees the field, that means Eli Manning and the New York Giants are having a good year. And what else would you want as an owner of your team than for your team to do good? He's not saying Eli Manning is going to be re-signed next year. He's saying this year he hopes not to see Daniel Jones. That's because he wants to see the New York Giants succeed. Let's skip ahead to the question that Stephen A. Smith asked Victor Cruz, and Victor Cruz just rolls around the question, doesn't know how to answer it. Okay, and this is the last point we're going to talk about in this video.
Yeah, and I'll leave it with this question, and I'll throw out a rhetorical question to you, Victor Cruz, okay? Who else has this been done for? Who else would Mara do this for? Think about that before you answer the question.
I just think this is a year unlike Eli Manning has seen before in his own career. This is the most important year for him individually as a quarterback, for his whatever he feels like internally his longevity is, whatever that feels like for him. This is an important year for him because if he doesn't perform well, if he doesn't, go out there and perform the way Eli Manning and the way the Giants expect him to perform this year,
right?
His job will be up for question.
But
His job will be
Okay, so that's the last point. So Victor Cruz brings up a good point, and that's something I talked about before, that he's saying that this is unlike any other year that Eli Manning has ever had before, being that he actually has competition at quarterback, something he's never had in his career before, but he answers it to the wrong question. That's not what Stephen A. Smith was asking. Stephen A. Smith was asking, who else has that type of privilege? With the Eli Manning and his track record as of late, I understand the Super Bowls, okay? That's something I completely understand as a Giants fan. I understand the Super Bowls, and that's something, as an Eli apologist, I brung up back in 2014, 2015, when those Super Bowls were more recent, okay? But in the last few years, you're telling me that there should be no quarterback competition? You're telling me that Daniel Jones has no right to compete for the starting job? Who else does this apply for? Forget about what Stephen A. Smith would say, like, who else would John Mara do this for? Okay, forget about that. Who else would any other NFL owner do this for? Okay, there's always a quarterback competition. It doesn't matter. It's what have you done for me lately? Why is Eli Manning the only quarterback that gets to have no quarterback competition? He is the day one starter just because he won 2 Super Bowls and he's a Super Bowl MVP twice. Okay? That's all I'm bringing up for you guys. Why is there no such thing as a quarterback competition when Eli Manning has done nothing for us in the past couple years? You could blame the offensive line, you could blame the team, you could blame this and that. But bottom line, Eli Manning has not been good in the past couple years. He's done well. He's done what he can, but he has not succeeded the expectations of everybody. If he was the great quarterback everybody says he is, you know, you bring up his brother Peyton, you bring up Aaron Rodgers, these guys win. Andrew Luck, these guys win with bad teams, okay? Our team was bad. Eli Manning still hasn't won with those teams, okay? So there's no excuse there. Daniel Jones deserves a quarterback competition. Daniel Jones deserves to be in the conversation of being the day one starter. Yes, he had a little track record of 5-5 and 67 yards and a touchdown. But if we go down to week 4 and he's still playing fantastic, there has to be a competition. Is he the week 1 starter? I don't care how many Super Bowls he won beforehand. Okay? It matters about who gives us the best chance to win now. That's all I got to say, guys. Stephen A. Smith won this debate. I love you, Victor Cruz, but you can't defend the Giants to the grave. You got to be a realist, man. I'm all about being a realist. Victor Cruz, I love him. He loves Eli. I understand that. But he has to wake up, man. He has to wake up. If everybody keeps saying that Eli Manning looks good every single year, Eli will never freaking retire. They'll keep re-signing Eli Manning until the guy literally can't walk anymore, okay? So that being said, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you guys think? Are you guys on Stephen A's side? Are you guys on Victor Cruz's side? Or are you guys on my side? Because I kind of oppose both of these guys. I just think Stephen A. Smith was more in the right. He kind of lost me on this John Mara situation and all that stuff. But that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I got hiccups, but yeah!